I'm Hugh Hewitt, joined at the top of this hour by United States Senator Tom Cotton from the great state of Arkansas. He is conference chair for the Republicans in the Senate, and we're going to talk about the rules change in just a moment. He's also in the Senate Intel Committee, and I'm going to get to that as well, the New York Times story. But, Senator, first I want to start. You're a member of the Judiciary Committee, or were. Were you there when either Sarah Merriam, Denny Chin, or Maria Arroyo Khan came before the committee? Because those are the three judges who upheld the absurd $83 million E. Jean Carroll verdict against the president today.
No, Hugh, I don't think I was. If they're all Biden judges, it's not surprising.
Oh, one was an Obama judge. Chin is an Obama judge.
Yeah, I was not in the Senate or not on the Judiciary Committee for that. But it's not surprising that you have left-wing judges that are ruling against the president. I mean, that's what these judges did for 4 years when he was out of office, and especially in the final years, they were working overtime to find any harbor in the storm of Donald Trump's return campaign to the White House. I would expect the president will keep fighting it again. You know, like so many of the claims against him was manufactured, and if I recall, it may have even been time barred in some ways, except for novel legal theories that maybe should have never seen the inside of a courtroom.
Oh, it's so absurd on so many levels. But the punitive damage award is barely within the 10-1, but they had to manufacture pain and suffering and actual damage. It's just one of the most absurd cases ever, like the O.J. acquittal. And everybody knows it's absurd, but these three judges went per curiam, so no one had to sign it. I hope it gets slammed 8-1. That's the most we can hope for, I think, from the Supremes. Second question, Senator. New York Times ran a story about SEAL Team 6. It could be completely fabricated. I don't know. But anyone who helped make it should go to jail. What do you do in a situation like that? Do you prosecute or do you just let it go?
Well, Hugh, as you say, it could be completely fabricated. And I don't want to confirm or deny any details in that report. But let's say, for the sake of argument, that it has some accurate reporting in there. What is the purpose of publishing such highly classified details if they are, in fact, true?
Hurt the United States.
It's now, 6 years on? And
Yep.
Presumably, again, if you take it at face value and you assume for the sake of argument that it has some accurate reporting, it would seem that maybe North Korea didn't even know about this. And why would it be published right now? Why would malefactors, if it is in fact accurate in any way, come to the New York Times and publish it now? Could it have something to do, perhaps, with deep state opposition to the president's and our military's highly successful strike on narco-terrorists last week off the coast of Venezuela, trying to, again, generate controversy in the use of the military in a way that they disapprove of? So I would suspect that Secretary Hegseth, Attorney General Bondi, and FBI Director Patel will be investigating the matter thoroughly. If you're in the government and you think you know of wrongdoing, there are ample channels to report such wrongdoing, whether to your general counsel's office or the inspector general or special ombudsman that exist in certain agencies and departments, or to your oversight committee. The New York
Senator,
Times
let me ask you a question on the law.
Media is not an authorized outlet.
I don't know the law on this. If it's made up, is it illegal to leak a made-up story just because the New York Times publishes it?
Hugh, I don't know the law on that either. Again, it's to me that would be a novel question that I'm not familiar with. I could say that I think the New York Times is willing to buy such reporting hook, line, and sinker, even if it is made up in whole or in part, because they think it makes the president look bad, and they probably think that it, again, could impair operations and political support for the highly successful strike on narco-terrorists last week.
Yeah, and anything that hurts Trump gets in, regardless. Russia, and then that which helps Trump gets suppressed, like the Hunter Biden computer. Let me turn now to the rules. Leader Thune was on last week, said that the hammer's coming down today and tomorrow. Is it, in fact, in process to change the rules to clear the nominee backlog?
Yeah, Hugh, it'll be an ongoing process. It takes a little bit of time to go through the normal procedural steps. and the Democrats are going to slow things up as much as they possibly can. But before we leave town next week, we're going to have confirmed the first large batch of Donald Trump's nominees. What the Democrats have done is unprecedented. Just to give your listeners a sense of scale, for the vast majority of our history, almost all nominees were voted on by voice votes, and usually unanimously. I think with George Bush 41, it was 98%. For Bill Clinton, it was maybe around the same, fell to around 90% with George Bush, stayed the same with Obama, fell to only 65% with Donald Trump the first time around, fell a little bit more with Biden. Now it's zero, Hugh. Literally 8 months into this presidency, we have not had a single nominee confirmed by voice. Some of these people came out of committee on voice votes. They got 5%. So we're going to put an end to 30 years of Democratic obstructionism. We're going to restore the customs and practices of the Senate going back almost 250 years, and we're going to get these nominees on the job so they can start doing the people's business.
So there are 300 lined up and circling over O'Hare, as the saying goes. How many do you think you get done before the Senate breaks again?
I'm not sure it's quite 300. Last I heard, it was somewhere in the around 150 or so. I think we'll get probably at least half of those done, and then we'll come back right after the break and get the remainders done. And then the important thing is there won't be such a backlog again in the future. In the future, we'll dedicate, say a couple days each month to confirming all the nominees at once and moving out smartly on that. So we won't be in a situation again against any break when we're home visiting with our constituents, whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas or Easter or what have you, in which the Democrats have held Donald Trump's nominees hostage.
Now, you are not the whip, so you don't have to do the vote counts, but you do run the conference, and I assume that they talked about this at conference. Will any Republicans vote? Because I guess my 300 number comes from the number confirmed plus the number in line. Will anyone vote to say this is fine? Because, there are 1,200 positions in the government that need a vote.
No, Hugh. I'm not I shouldn't predict absolutely. I am not aware at the moment of any Republican who thinks this situation is fine or anyone who is intending to vote against the specific changes we propose. If anything, Hugh, I got to say, a lot of our members want to be a little more aggressive in what we do to, again, get back to the historic customs that the vast majority of all nominees are confirmed on a voice vote, or in this case, a proxy for that in one large batch of a recorded vote without taking all the time on each individual nominee. So I think, if anything, you see unanimous Republican support and maybe some pressure to push it even more aggressively in favor of these nominees.
All right, last question, Senator. The General Assembly's coming. France is going to move, along with other states, to recognize a Palestinian state. Macron announced that killed a hostage deal. Now that there's been another terror attack reminiscent of the first and second Intifada with 6 dead, 6 seriously wounded in Israel this morning, you think Macron will withdraw that? His government's collapsed. I know he did it for domestic political reasons, but do you think he will begin to recognize that foolish words can get people killed?
Regrettably, no, Hugh. I think Emmanuel Macron and other center-left leaders in Europe are just as likely to plow ahead even faster in the collapse of his government. He's doing it in part because of, as you say, the domestic political problems he's got that has led to his government collapse, in addition to the fact that, just to be blunt about it, most of these countries in Europe now have many more Muslim voters than they do Jewish voters. And when you combine the left-wing party's reliance on Muslim voters and radical left-wingers of the type we have a few of here in America, then they're not going to be great friends of Israel, either now or in the future, in all likelihood.
Now, Senator, last question. You've been around a long time in the House and the Senate, maybe 14 years. I can't quite remember how long. But the Democrats seem to have imploded. They've gone off the rails. You ran against Mark Pryor, who was not crazy. He was a liberal, but he wasn't crazy. Have you concluded the Democratic Party is way off the rails?
Well, I think the far left wing definitely has the whip hand. You'll hear from Democrats in the Senate, probably less so in the House, that they don't agree with Bernie Sanders or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or Comrade Mamdani up in New York. But then when it comes time to vote, they vote in lockstep because they're scared of their far left-wing base. It's also, their donors, the people that give money to their campaigns, or maybe even farther to the left than their ordinary activists and voters, and they're just scared to death of the kind of retribution they might face from the far left if they show an inkling of independence.
I just cannot imagine anyone voting for a Democrat in this cycle. Senator Tom Cotton, Republican of Arkansas. Thank you, Senator.